Welcome back to The Full View. Health sector unions will seek legal recourse following the fire that has left the Bank of Lisbon building in downtown Johannesburg gutted. The fire broke out on the 23rd floor on Wednesday and left 3 firefighters dead and 8 others injured. Well, the building, which houses 3 government departments, is one of 8 government buildings in the city centre that don't comply with health and safety standards. Well, unions say they've been raising concerns for years about the unsafe conditions of the building. Well, joining us now is SABC reporter Nozintombi Miya, who's been working tirelessly on the story over the past few days. Nozintombi, thanks for your time. Look, the unions obviously are calling a meeting today, addressing the media as well on it. I think of great concern at this point is that they've been raising this issue for a very long time and nothing has happened.
You're quite right, Griselda. It's actually been since 2001 that different sectors, specifically the unions, have been complaining about the state of government buildings, and they just have not been getting traction. We also spoke to Denosa earlier today, and one of their members said that they joined Denosa in 2012. And already in 2012, they'd flagged that there were at least 8 buildings that needed to either be renovated or the staff needed to be moved to somewhere else, and their concerns just weren't being listened to. And this has created the powder keg that we saw on Wednesday, where this particular government building went up in flames, and absolutely not a lot of people, not a lot of management has been taking responsibility, and it's always been about we want to investigate to find out the cause of what happened on Wednesday and why the Lisbon building caught fire.
I was privy to a document, Nozintombi, during the course of the week where health inspectors from the Labour Department had been to the building and it basically declared it unfit to have people inside it. I understand it was lifted at a later stage, but I guess it raised concerns from even as early as last year, where you had the Labour Department say this building is not supposed to house people from any of these departments. Now we're looking at these health sector unions who are trying to now explore what legal options to take. Is that correct?
You're quite right, Griselda. What we do know about this Bank of Lisbon building is that from last year, they were about 80% compliant with the occupational health and safety regulations. Yeah. And it started dipping. About 3 months ago, it was at 30%. And nobody raised any red flags to say that this Bank of Lisbon office is only 30% compliant with health and safety occupational requirements. This means the stairs were broken, the lights weren't working, half of the lifts were not working. It was a situation already where the building itself was not being maintained properly, and it should have either been condemned or either the workers should have been reallocated to a different place. What we do know, which came out of the press conference today, is that 8.4 million rands was allocated to remove the workers in that building to a different building. Yeah. And this already had started about 2-3 years ago, and that money has since disappeared because the workers were not removed from the Bank of Lisbon building to the alternative building that was supposed to have been organized for them to work in.
So now we saw yesterday the emergency services moving away from the scene itself. A memorial service is expected on Wednesday, I understand, to remember these fallen firefighters.
Yes, it was quite difficult for the firefighters to get in to make sure that they contained the fire. There were no water facilities on different parts or on different levels. Yeah. Exactly. So it made it extremely difficult for the firefighters to go in and to be able to plug their hoses to the accessible water pipes. Yeah. And this is what made the situation even worse, because then they couldn't contain the fire, and the different floors from floor 14 up until floor 17, that's where the water wasn't. And that is where they struggled to make sure that they reduced the fire. So on Saturday morning, we then got word from emergency services to say they'd managed to contain the fire by 100%, but they had 2-floor buildings, 16 and 17, that they were still concerned about. They sent in the structural engineers, and the engineers said that the flooring of both of those floors is completely, it was completely dismantled, and it was a safety hazard. Yep. And they would wait up until the fire had completely died down on those 2 particular floors before they gave the go-ahead for the forensics team as well as the police to come in on Monday to start with investigations to try and ascertain what exactly caused the fire.
All right, Nozintombi Miya, who's been covering our story for us for the past couple of days. So thank you very much for your time and good work.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nozintombi. Now, on to other stories. The rain in Nelson Mandela Bay eased off today, allowing affected residents to take stock, while the worst affected areas were people in informal dwellings in low